Back. This is a special fan request of what if Issei was the son of All for One. And yes, if you make a request in the comments or on one of my "What do you want to see now" posts I make every day, I will make it. Which, unless it's been like a few days for me for this one, because I'm struggling a lot to choose what to do next. But I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the next most important thing tomorrow, so yeah. And if you comment on this video what you want to see, I can try to do that the day after. But anyway, back to the video. So we start off with Issei being kind of, sealed by his father, saying, you're worthless to me now, son, as Issei's born with a quirk, all for all, which makes him as powerful as God. Now, God gave these quirks to two people, Lucifer and Azazel. There is one for all and all for one. Those are the only two that he chose to give out. And this is when he's hit by something unexpected. All for all was made in this boy's body. So he has a quirk, which is strong enough to keep him up with God. But Lucifer took it and made it where he was fighting God on an even scale, making it so difficult that it took, whenever the dragons appeared, that's what killed off God and him, which God had made into the sacred gears, as a kind of, dying effort. Which didn't kill him, that fight wasn't the one that killed him, but it was like the next fight. So he had made all the sacred gears and just sent him off. And then, seeing what happened to Issei, how he was going to be the strongest of everything, he goes through time, giving Issei the boosted gear, and putting him right inside of Miss Hyoda, which makes Issei a human again. But Issei, at the age of around 3, would meet Azazel, as one day he's having power surges, as he shouldn't have at such a young age. Azazel would train him for 2 years, until the actual leaving of his childhood friend, which is where he really started training hard with Azazel. After 2 years of that, Issei was given one for all, saying, "It's my gift to you. Goodbye, my student. I'll keep in contact as much as I can," as he vanishes. Issei, now at this point, choosing to do nothing but training, gets up to the point where he can handle 50% of the power of one for all, as a regular human, in all the years it took. But noting that he feels off as a human, he wonders what he was originally meant to be, which, technically, he was meant to be something way bigger. And now that he has a boosted gear, he can be that thing. And one for all makes it so much easier. So yeah, Issei is choosing to double his power every time. He doesn't know about the boosted gear yet, but he likes to use it as a full force. He'd only ever a few times go into 100% of one for all, which breaks his hand. But he usually just tells his parents he fell down some stairs and hurt himself really bad. And they believe that, since it doesn't look that bad, it just looks like a snap, which makes it where it takes a while to heal. But every day he just gets stronger and stronger, and he heals to the point. Now, we're going to cut to the whole thing, whenever, what happened in canon happened. And this version, all of the Fallen were there. And they literally were like, "Oh no, this dude's gonna be a pain to fight, won't he?" As Donasek said, "If I fight him, I'd probably lose on my own." Rainier saying, "Yeah, I'd probably lose as well." And then they'd just be like, "Yeah, no crap, Sherlock, he's powerful. How are we gonna kill him?" As they decided to put all their magic together to make that same, light spear that pierced Issei's chest, before he could even go into, his power-up. Now, this made it where they were basically taken off. Issei would meet them again, but this time he was ready for them, and when he had his boost, that little bit of the double critical overgear, that made his power so strong that when he was in one for all 100%, it made that look like a beast, which he'd only ever been able to go to 50% in his human form. When he was a devil, he was basically in the 97% region. But we're going to go to the whole thing. He meets Zasya. Everything goes basically the same, except for the fact every time they're going to attack, he meets the devil, the fallen angels. It's all 3 of them there instead of just one of them. Now, this does make a big difference. Issei handles Rainair, and Asya still died. They still turned her into a bishop, and here we're caught up. Now, Issei is kind of, a little bit shocked, and they just started doing the familiar thing. Asya still got Issei, to be honest with you. It kind of sucked for Issei, because he was trying to get that slime, but you know what? You win some, you lose some. Having one for all should be what you only want, boy, because you're that powerful. Now, this did mean that Issei was not expecting what he wound up getting, as he didn't need a familiar. This did make it where Issei would wind up having to be still no familiar, which there will be at least one of these where I give him a familiar, but not this one. Now, this makes it where Issei does see something he likes, as he points to one beast he sees before they leave, and he says, "What's that?" And then it said that that's a Cerberus. As he said, "Cool, I'm gonna name him Serby. Can I keep him?" "Sure." "Nah, not doing that one." But yeah, Issei basically takes off with them, and then the riser thing happens. Issei's thinking about doing that, but he chooses not to. But when the riser fight happens, there's a whole other thing that happens. First, Riser is not expecting the beating he takes. Issei in one for all and the boosted gear is starting to just wail on him. Like, it is not even a challenge for him. He is just getting his ass beat. Like, time after time after time. Just the meanest whooping. But then, Issei gets hit with a bomb in the back and stood there looking with rage, saying, "Oh shit." As they all kind of tried taking off, but then, as lucky as Riser had to be, Issei hit his max boosting and power limit for one for all, and he was basically dead on his feet. Honestly, at this point, he should be off his feet and laying down for at least 2 hours. But instead, he's still on them trying to fight, and he's fighting Riser pretty well at this point, even as beaten as he is. But then, Riser does some mean stuff. He literally starts just hitting Issei with explosion and fireball, and explosion and fireball. And right when he's at that edge, he said, "I'll kill him, Rias, you know I will." Going to kill Issei, right when Rias concedes, and Issei is about to drop, she catches him. Now, Issei still busts into that same exact moment with one arm, dragified. Now, he was yelling boost this entire time. And he had one for all active from the beginning. So he's literally busting in there. When he went into his armor, he terrifies. He terrified Riser. Like, Riser already crapping himself. But he still wanted to do the thing, thinking he couldn't have gotten any stronger overnight. Oh, you idiot, bird brain boy. As Issei is just wailing on him the whole time. Like, everywhere Riser tries throwing a punch, even when Issei's armor comes off, he's straight up just wailing on him again. And then, one thing happens. Right when Issei's about to do a killing shot with a holy dragon shot as a final kill, that little girl still jumped in the way. Which, honestly, if Ravel didn't jump in the way, he'd probably be dead by now. Riser? So yeah. Issei said, "You know what? You win this one. That's it, though." As Issei took off. Getting with Rias and then escaping. The best they could. Now, as they took off and escaped, an unexpected force happened. Issei noted his fatigue was already so bad, and he had gotten nothing but worse. Using that scale mail form was so difficult. But then, he opens his eyes to a full force power. He's been granted his lightning power. But only a little bit of it. Now, at this point, he figures out no, never mind. Issei doing his thing, he's like, wondering what's going on. He met... Wait, hold on, what was next? Oh yeah, So yeah, they gonna have to deal with the Holy Sword Project after this. I'm not sure how far along it was ahead, or if anything important happens between it, but I never really saw it important, so let's see what happens. So yeah, that entire thing kind of goes as canon for everyone else, but then whenever, like, Kokabeel and them are about to fight, issei straight just cracks his neck, which, yeah, no, that, peace treaty thing happens. Wait, no, that was after, yeah, peace treaty was after, issei kind of used, like, all his power, kind of trying to fight this Kokabeel dude, and he's barely able to do anything. But he's using One For All and the boosted gear at 10 boosts. And Kokabeel knows this power way too well. He said, hey, where'd you get that shit from? That's Azazel's power. I know that because he's beaten my ass with that too many times for me not to memorize it. What are you doing with that power, boy? And issei just said, fuck you! In a final dragon shot, which took everything out of him, which almost killed him. But this dragon shot was so powerful, it bought enough time for, well, the White Dragon Emperor to bust in and start beating ass. Issei, who doesn't quite have his balance breaker yet, is kind of impressed by the awesome looking armor. But then he sees something. That's all for one. Reminding him too much of his original father as his memories all flood back in. Of his father stealing his power. Of him being beaten down within an inch of his life. As God moved him back into where his normal body was. And even the death of God. And then issei came to the realization, God's been dead. But then Kokabeel kind of said it, that kind of took everything away from what issei was about to say. And then issei's like, oh, you. Seeing that Aussie and all the church girls kind of went down. And issei's like, of course. Enraged, she actually goes to take a swing at this dude, but instead, he's almost stopped in his tracks. Rias thinks this will, as they keep throwing attack after attack, issei's having to deal with the whole thing, and whenever, like, White Dragon Emperor came in, he was like, that's my rival. Wait a second. As issei looked, as the next day, Volley still pulled up, smirking and shit, right in front of the school, and they were about to attack, but then issei said, hey, you're Volley Lucifer, correct? Yeah? What's your name? Well, this time I'm Issei Hyodo. But that's only because God tried to mess with some stuff. In all actuality, originally, I'm Issei Lucifer. What? So who are you to me? Oh, simple. I'm your uncle. You're shitting me right now, right? You're not even half my strength. Oh, I wouldn't say that. Oh, please, I'll take your power. As he said, don't even try it. I will rip your head off in an instant. Understood? Maybe your great-grandfather, because I'm your great-uncle, remember? Maybe your great-grandfather, my father, would have killed me. Would have killed me almost. And he took my power, but I'm not letting it happen again. You have all for one. I'm amazed he didn't pass all for all to you, but, well, it's not really that big of a deal. Hearing, wait, all for all? No way, that power's been lost for centuries. Yeah, it was mine. Thank you very much. Whatever. As then there's a lot to be thinking about. And then Peace Tree thing happens, and they meet each other. And at this point, Issei's at the verge of getting that balance breaker. But he still has them two armbands on his arm, because, he was given them. They have to go save Gasper, that whole thing happens as canon. And kaboom. This is when Issei kind of had to deal with some stuff. They did the whole fighting thing, that went all as canon. But then, we got something unexpected. Expect the unexpected. Anyway, I'm not sure when this is supposed to happen exactly. I'm sorry, I haven't seen High School DxD in I think 2 years? No, at least 2. It's been around 2 years since I've seen High School DxD, guys. I'm sorry. So yeah, Issei's doing his thing, you know, training, powering up. When he actually had to deal with the whole thing of, after this, there's that whole summer break training session, which Issei actually was able to handle way easier than in canon. Like, he literally was able to dodge everything Tannen threw at him with the boosted gear and one for all. But he was still always worried, because whenever he met Kuroka, in this version, when he meets Kuroka, he's like, dang, this is like a hotter, older Konako. Wonder if I'd be able to smash. Right when he's about to say something stupid, Risa says, don't even say it. And then Konako's like, perv. And then he says like, no. And then Issei simply says these words, you know what? Whatever. Inhaling all the smoke that was hurting Konako and, you know, and Rias, which inhaling this should have killed him, but he blew it all as hard as he could up in the air. And then they have the fight with, you know, Loki, and that whole fight goes way different. First thing happens, Loki tries taking a swing, just to get his hand captured and broken. And they're thinking, you're kidding me. Loki was literally whooping his ass. But this Issei is even, like, stronger by a good bit. Alright, he's actually in One For All, and with his final move of the hammer, using One For All transfer, made the hammer, like, 10 times bigger than it actually was in canon. And this slung down, shattered Loki underneath. He was still putting his binds, but that wasn't really that difficult to do. But yeah. Now, Issei knows, like, this was the last fight. We've still got the whole thing with the giant fox girl, which in this version happens basically similar to basically the same as canon. Yeah, that's gonna be the same exact way. Then we've got the fight with, what was his name? Cyber-Org Bale. And the Cyber-Org fight goes way different. Like, completely different. So every fight went upwards the same, and then whenever Issei had to fight Cyber-Org in their 2-on-2, whenever he put that armor on to give Issei a better fight, Issei actually activated One For All boost, One For All as max he could, and started boosting up crazy. This made it where every punch seemed to even out with Cyber-Org. And Cyber-Org and him were just throwing punch after punch when something unexpected happened. Issei boosted another time, which he thought was impossible. His body was already so strained, as that final punch is what completely put down, as the dragons basically was begging Issei to stop, which Issei then stopped and collapsed. And then it was ruled that Rias won and all that happened normally. Now, this made it where Rias is barely, like, she still has to kind of, like, hold. She kind of has to hold and carry Issei. And then shit, you know what? Kiba's right. You're heavy as shit. And she's basically dragging him as hard as she can. And then we've got the whole thing with the final scene of Season 4, which is, you know, Cyber-Org talking to his mother, you know. Because his mother, a little bit before the fight, Issei came over and did the titty talk thing he has, which is bullshit. And yeah, he still did it even though he had to use everything he had, which showed actually better results, as she was completely up after a little bit earlier, talking to her son, which is kind of like the final thing that happened. And that's basically it.